week's time, the Cleveland Browns will make their first selection in the 2024 NFL Draft. I don't know who it's going to be, but to this point, I'm pretty confident the Browns are going to draft 3 positions: running back, defensive tackle, offensive tackle. Going to be a guy for every one of their 5 picks they have in the 2024 NFL Draft. Your latest mock Locked On Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound, LGB, and the LLB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate each and every one of you that make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. The everyday crowd keeps on growing. Don't miss out. Subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, my confidence level for the Browns is not necessarily individual players. Look, we don't know what goes on in those war rooms, but I know and I feel pretty confident in the fact that there are three positions the Browns are absolutely going to address in the 2024 NFL Draft: the running back position, the offensive tackle position, and the defensive tackle position. The Browns are going to make at least one selection at 3 of those positions. The Browns currently slated with picks 53 in the second round, 85 in the third round, 156 in round 5, 206 to close out round 7, and round 6, 243 late in round 7. So between running back, between offensive tackle, and between defensive tackle, I'm going to give you a player the Cleveland Browns could have that would work for them at each one of those picks. We're going to start with the running back position. And the Browns with pick 53. Now, with this selection for the Browns, this could very well be at the running back position. The Browns could be getting the top ranked running back in the NFL draft. There is not a running back that is going to go round 1. Doesn't have a headliner in this class like a Bijan Robinson of a year ago, but they still could find a way to get the number 1 ranked running back, their number 1 ranked running back as well. You never know how it could work out at that selection. Now, at 53, you could go ahead and take Jonathan Brooks from Texas. Could Jonathan Brooks be somebody that goes on a PUP list? Possibly. He's not going to be ready to go right away. Tore his ACL in November. So, much like Nick Chubb, he would be a player that was rehabbing, hoping to come back. But there's a lot of people that like his pass pro. There are a lot of people that love his open field ability. There's a lot of people that think he is a great, outside cut, get up the sideline and go. Very, very impressive player. Could have had a better resume if it wasn't for the fact that he was at Texas playing behind Bijan Robinson. Really, really wowed folks this fall, but unfortunately the ACL injury in November. Trey Benson is kind of what I call like a Novocaine back. You just keep getting Trey Benson. You just keep getting Trey Benson. You just keep getting Trey Benson. Then all of a sudden it hits and you get that long one, that 50-yard run, that 65-yard run. And that's a lot what Benson did is 2 years of Florida State, over 6 yards per carry. You think about the Cleveland Browns, the productivity of the running game over the last few years, last year notwithstanding with all the injuries and the loss of Nick Chubb, of course. But a player like Trey Benson really put together a nice career down in 2 years down in Tallahassee. You could get that type of player. The Browns have him coming in on a top 30 visit. Field Yates from ESPN just actually made Trey Benson a selection at this pick for the Cleveland Browns in his latest mock draft, so certainly a name to look out for. Then you come back, pick 85 for the Cleveland Browns, and there's a couple of names that could go here. I mean, I'm not going to go too much into detail. I am probably driving the Audric Estime bus at this point, and I am more than okay with that. I think he is more athletic than people are giving credit to him for. His 40 time, it wasn't fantastic. I understand. But, the explosion is there. The tape, it is there and is there in spades. He also kind of has a Novocaine, type of game to him where it just keeps coming. And then all of a sudden it really, really settles in like when you go to the dentist, right? Physical player, jumping. You don't see guys who are slower, unathletic, hurdling players or hurdling 2 players on one play. Go to that Clemson game, watch that tape, and you see the athleticism Audric Estime has. Braylon Allen. Braylon Allen, and it's really gotten quiet for Braylon Allen, and this is one thing that he and Estime both possess. Estime will not be 21 until September. Braylon Allen will not turn 21 until January of 2025. Bigger back. And again, he's another one. The more carries, the better. He should be the kind of guy that helps you close out a close ball game, keeping the ball away from the opponent. Braylon Allen's got that kind of game. One more name here, and he's been a little sneaky here and kind of got under the radar, but had a solid career at USC, and that is Marshawn Lloyd. Can contribute as a receiver, can contribute certainly as a straight runner. Didn't get a full chance to put his talent on display the last 2 years. Obviously, the offense was really, really rigged, towards Caleb Williams and his exploits. But Marshawn Lloyd tested very well. The tape is very good. Could be somebody that's in play if the Browns are looking to go wide receiver at 85. Running back at 156. Didn't test well at the combine. His tape is fantastic. His production is incredible at TCU. Amani Bailey, nice little player. He's never going to be a full-time back. He would not be a guy that you're going to look at to be the running back of the future of the Cleveland Browns. And once you're getting into the 5th round, most likely you're not talking about getting a player that is going to be the future of any position, of course, but could be somebody that fits in really, really nice. Amani Bailey had a solid career at TCU. Certainly could be a nice name to add. Are the Browns going to address, if they want the running back, is it going to be 54, 53? Is it going to be 85? Most likely that's where I feel it's going to come, because there's your opportunity to get yourself possibly a future starter. But they still might want a running back, so that's the way it could work. Pick 206 out of Boise State, George Holani. George Holani tested well, relative athletic score of over 8. Very good vision, one-cut guy. Obviously, very, very. His game is predicated on the offensive line. He's a very, very smart running back. He will take what his offensive line gives him. Had nice production in Boise. Look, Boise's always had a really nice program. They've always put out some really, really tough players, physical players, guys who played well in the NFL. He's a guy that gets better with the more carries he gets. So Holani, obviously, at pick 206 could be there. If they wait until the 7th round, and there are 2 names that I like at pick 243 that could work for the Browns. Dillon Johnson has not tested well, and it's been a rough draft cycle for Dillon Johnson out of the University of Washington. But you go back and you watch UW this past fall, and you watch Penix, and you watch those receivers, and you see how Dillon Johnson would find himself a role within an NFL offense. There were times they leaned on him. There were times where they used him as a surprise. He's a good receiver out of the backfield. Going from Ole Miss to UW was the best thing he ever did for himself. Dillon Johnson is going to play in the NFL on Sundays. The testing can go out the window. Whatever people have thought to the draft workouts to this point, that can all go out the window. Dillon Johnson's game is going to translate to the NFL. Last one here. And kind of a similar back. He never really had the season that Dillon Johnson did this year for Washington. But Kendall Milton out of Georgia, by far my favorite day 3 running back. I think Kendall Milton, and this is going to be and we talked about this with Jim Colburn the other day. It's really difficult when you're on a team with that much talent. You maybe don't get the playing time, the reps, the touches that you probably deserve. But Kendall Milton put together a nice career down at Georgia. Over 2,000 yards, well over 5 yards per carry, can contribute as a receiver. Kendall Milton would be a very nice running back for the Cleveland Browns to add on day 3. So there you go. I gave you a running back for every one of the selections the Browns have. We're going to continue on. We're going to do this with the offensive tackle position in segment 2. We're going to do it with the defensive tackle in segment 3. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. I appreciate everybody for sticking along for the ride. Passion, drive, and patience. The formula for winning championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors has everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you'll always find exactly what you are looking for. And with the eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring home huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit available only to U.S. customers. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns continues. I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen every single day. the everyday crowd. If you're not part of the everyday crowd by now, make a new plan, stand, and that new plan is subscribe to the Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. Now, segment 2 here, just like we did segment 1. Segment 2, I'm going to try to find you and get you an offensive tackle at 53, at 85, at 156, at 206, and at 243. The Cleveland Browns are going to draft an offensive tackle. Way too busy into it. Met with a bunch of them at the Combine, a bunch of them at the Senior Bowl, having some in for top 30 visits. The Cleveland Browns are in the offensive tackle market. It's not a knock. They know they got 1 year left with Jedrick Wills, most likely 1 year left with Jack Conklin. Love what DeJuan Jones did as a rookie, but I don't think the Browns want to get into the situation they did last season, where they had to find a guy off the street in Jerron Christian. And all of a sudden, Jerron Christian went from a guy without a job to being the Cleveland Browns starting left tackle on a playoff team for the final 9 weeks of the NFL regular season. Not a knock on Jerron Christian. He did the best he could, came in here and held down a spot. But the Browns want to make sure, God forbid, there's any fall off from a starter at those positions. They are going with a guy who's been here, knows the system, and probably has a future with this franchise. First pick up, selection 53. Now, Washington, look, you're going to hear about a lot about the University of Washington in this draft. They just have a ton of talent, skilled players, obviously the quarterback, the wide receivers, the running back, but they had a really good offensive line. Their left tackle most likely is going to go top 32. People want to talk about as a guard, just because sometimes we get into the measurements and we don't necessarily look at the tape. No, he's going to be a first-round left tackle. But, however, the right tackle from the University of Washington, Roger Rosengarter. Fantastic player. Really good player. The draft process has really gone well for him. He is shown to be a pretty good athlete. He is shown on tape at Washington. It was a really good player. I'm not saying the Browns are going to bring in yet another right tackle and try to maybe make him a left tackle. Do they do that with DeJuan Jones? The Browns are looking for talented football players. If that means that they are going to work with them, put them on a different side, change things up for them, it's because the Browns feel confident that these guys can do that. Now, does that give you a little bit of concern? Because this regime did try this once with a player in Jedrick Wills, as we all know. Now, Jedrick Wills is now in year 5. And to this point, we think Jedrick Wills will be part of the Browns for 2024 with the 5th-year option. If one of these teams that spends money on a quarterback spends draft picks on a quarterback early, may not have a tackle to protect their young signal caller, well, they call the Cleveland Browns and see if Jedrick Wills could be wheeled out of Cleveland. Certainly could be a possibility. But the Browns, you could go back to this route and with a different offensive line coach, of course, and say, can this guy get this guy who was a great right tackle in college and get him to be a great left tackle in the NFL? Coach Dickerson, we'll see. We'll even see if the Browns give him the opportunity to do that. But Roger Rosengarter would be your selection there at pick 53. Now you get to 85, and I have a couple of names here, and certainly names that the Browns appear to be interested in. Yale offensive tackle Kieran Armageddon. Now he comes out as a junior, I believe a 4th-year junior. The size, ridiculously good. Is he going to take a little time? Sure. Ivy Leaguers aren't plug and play to the NFL. Showed, well in the interview process down in Mobile. I had people who were down there, got to speak with them. When you speak to the Ivy League kids, you usually know right away you're speaking to the Ivy League kids. They're just, so much more ready, so much more, well-adjusted to try to go on to a professional life, well, even if it is professional football. Academics have always been a strong part of their lives. But Kieran Armageddon would be a solid guy. And look, you want to bring in a couple of players for Coach Dickerson and let him start developing guys. He was a guy that developed players in Seattle. He, comes in here now. He's the replacement for Bill Callahan, but he wants to be able to prove his worth. He wants to be able to prove what he can do. Notre Dame, Joe Alt is going to be a fantastic left tackle out of Notre Dame. He will be a top 10 selection in this draft. The Browns have no chance to get him. We all know that. But Blake Fisher, the right tackle, you hear Pete Smith and I talk all the time. There's times where we will watch film. We won't even be looking to watch a certain player, but you get that guy who's just a little bit more intense. You get that guy who's just a little bit more physical. Get that guy who just will take it a little bit closer to the whistle, even at not a little bit after. And those guys, they kind of, whoa, all right. Somebody's got to be the bully on the offense or the defense. Somebody's got to be that guy that says, my team ain't going to take nothing from anybody. And if you do, I'm going to be the one that's going to start it. I'm going to be the one that's going to stand up for my team. Blake Fisher is that type of guy. Kind of got like a dog with a toy type of personality to him. Plays hard, plays physical, never have an opportunity to play on the left side being behind Joe Alt. Blake Fisher is a player. Blake Fisher is going to be a Sunday player in the NFL. Just tough and relentless, and you want those types of guys. You want those guys on your line. You want those guys in your organization. You want those guys in your locker room. And even when your teammates don't like him in early August, because it's like, oh, great, somebody started another. Oh, great, Fisher started another. But you want to know what? When somebody's trying to put down your players, or somebody's trying to push your team around in the regular season, you want those guys. You need those guys. Somebody that's going to stand up for the organization. Somebody that's going to stand up for his teammates. A guy like Blake Fisher is a tough SOB. Now, out of University of Pittsburgh, Matt Goncalves. He's picking up a little bit of steam. Matt Goncalves was widely regarded as being a guy that would be, probably a day 3 pick. I think people are starting to get a little bit deeper into the film. And this is what happens. A lot of people, look, everybody goes and watches the stars right away, and, you put together your top 50, this, that, and the other thing. But as you get closer and closer to it, and some of these guys who are, day 2, day 3 prospects, their film isn't getting the attention it necessarily deserves. And as, we start to get there, all of a sudden now everybody's dried out of the top guys. And now you're starting to go to the rest of the class and filling out, the rest of your offensive tackle position rankings, be that as it may. So Matt Goncalves, this guy is starting to pick up a little more steam. Very consistent, pretty long career in his time at University of Pittsburgh. Solid player. And if the Browns wait a little bit and want to address this at pick 156, Matt Goncalves out of Pitt could be a guy that could turn up a pretty good dividend for them. Caden Wallace. Now, this would be somebody looking at probably right around 206. Caden Wallace has an illustrious career at Penn State. The starting left tackle, Ashonu, he told you all about it, and he spoke about him and the drive that he had and what really lit the lamp for him to be a guy that showed up every day. A guy who was a star and had, all the accolades put upon him, but, certainly said, what, I got to respect the work ethic. If this is what the work ethic is of this collective offensive line room, then I can't be the best guy in this room. And, kind of being a diva about it or being soft about it, the extra work is what is required. And that was set by a guy like Caden Wallace, longtime starter for Penn State. I think it was almost 40 career starts. Really, really solid player. Not a great athlete, never going to be a star, but will be a long-time performer in the NFL, Caden Wallace. He was the right tackle at Penn State. This one, it may not match up just because of his age, and I'm not sure the Browns would draft him. But look, if it is round 7, it is pick 243, and Frank Crum out of Wyoming is available, you take him. Kind of looks like a professional wrestler. Got to the combine. I think everybody kind of gave him a look like, who is this goofball, this, that, and the other thing. Well, Frank Crum went to the combine and tested out of his mind. But the thing I like about Frank Crum out of Wyoming is he kind of played a little bit everywhere. He's played some guard. He's played some center. He's played right tackle. He's played left tackle. You want that guy who can be that 7th, 8th, 9th offensive lineman on your team. He's got to be able to do a little bit of everything. It's just the way it goes. You can't say, oh, well, even though I'm second string and I'm the 9th offensive lineman on this team, I only play left. It don't work that way, bro. You got to be able to play anywhere and everywhere. Frank Crum, Wyoming, can be that guy if the Browns need him to. We're going to come back. We're going to go back to the defensive tackle position. Again, I appreciate everybody for sticking around. Love you all to death. Did you know that even if you have a 401k for retirement, you can still have an IRA? Robinhood has the only IRA that gives you a 3% boost on every dollar you contribute when you subscribe to Robinhood Gold. But get this, now through April 30th, Robinhood is even boosting every single dollar you transfer in from other retirement accounts with a 3% match. That's right, no cap on the 3% match. Robinhood Gold gets you the most for your retirement thanks to their IRA with a 3% match. The offer is good through April 30th. Get started at robinhood.com/boost. Subscription fees apply. And now for some legal info. Investing involves risk, including loss. Limitations apply to IRAs and 401ks. 3% match requires Robinhood Gold for 1 year from the date of first 3% match. Must keep Robinhood IRA for 5 years. The 3% matching on transfers is subject to specific terms and conditions. Robinhood IRA available to U.S. customers in good standing. Robinhood Financial LLC member SIPC is a registered broker dealer. Jeff Lloyd, we are closing out your latest Locked On Browns. I think the Browns are definitely going to draft a running back. I think the Browns are definitely going to draft a tackle. I think the Browns are definitely going to draft a defensive tackle. So I'm giving you one for each of the 5 selections. Browns hold 53, 85, 156, 206, and 243. And now we'll talk a little bit about the defensive tackle position. Look, I think my guy and my absolute home run guy I want at 53 to this point is Mike Hall Jr. Everybody knows, the everyday crowd knows, Pete Smith, great friend of mine, great friend of the show. Pete was part of the coaching staff for Mike Hall in high school. Pete still has a great relationship with Mike Hall. Fantastic athlete, pushes himself, wants to be the best. A lot of people were shocked that he didn't go back to Ohio State. So many guys opted back into Ohio State. A guy like Mike Hall said, I might not get as much, I might not get the playing time I want. There's just that much talent at Ohio State. So I'm going to go down to the Senior Bowl. I'm going to work my butt off there. I'm going to go with one of the greatest guys as far as working with defensive linemen for draft prep. And Mike Hall had a phenomenal pro day. Mike Hall is going to be a great pro. If the Browns want a D tackle at 53, Mike Hall Jr., who tested out of his mind at almost 300 pounds, is the guy and the way they should go. Pick 83. You could go Dexter Carter. Dwayne Carter is actually training with Mike Hall in the same program. Solid player. Mekhi Wingo. We've talked about Mekhi Wingo a bunch of times. He could be, if you don't want Mike Hall here, maybe you could get Mekhi Wingo a little bit later. Another solid player. Good athlete, tad bit undersized. You want the guy out of LSU who's got it all. Mason, 2 S's, Mason Smith. Bigger, more athletic, but maybe not the tape necessarily that Wingo had in the time down at LSU, but a really good player. So it could be somebody, that the Browns are looking for. If the Browns truly want this and want somebody that can make a difference, and possibly somebody that's going to be a long-term member of the Browns roster, maybe pick 53 or pick 85 is going to be the one where you do it. Now, if you do wait and you go 156, everybody is in love with Johnny Newton out of Illinois, to the point where I believe most people believe Johnny Newton will be the top defensive tackle drafted in the 2024 NFL draft. But a lot of times, and this happens when you're watching tape and you're looking at players and you're saying, this is the guy I'm watching, and you kind of peek over. You keep seeing, you just keep seeing somebody else. I remember years ago, Jones, cornerback from UW. I fell in love with Kevin King, the corner from UW, watching all that tape. Keith Randolph, a really good player. I'm not saying he's going to be better than Johnny Newton, but you were putting on Johnny Newton tape and you're trying to get your best evaluation. Johnny Newton, Keith Randolph kept kind of drawing your eyes and, tested pretty well, but certainly a player that the Browns, if they are looking to go that route and bring in some depth at defensive tackle, Keith Randolph could be that guy. At pick 206, this guy tested out of his mind, right around 300 bills. Logan Lee out of Iowa, just really, and look, Iowa guys are really starting to be valued by the NFL. They know the work ethic, they know the commitment, the gym time, the spring workouts. Iowa is legendary for pumping out great athletic football players. All of them don't necessarily pan out. Some of them certainly need some attention, some developing, some seasoning. No question about it. Logan Lee would certainly fall into that category. But Logan Lee, when you're bringing the measurables, you are bringing the athleticism. Ain't nobody in the NFL going to say, well, I don't want to have to work with this guy. Oh, no, he's 6'3", 300 pounds. Oh, my God, he's an extremely athletic young man. No, nobody's ever going to say no. Those are the guys, and those are the guys that coaches make their money on. You develop a guy like that, you start choosing your own jobs within the NFL. Last one, out of Mississippi State, Jaden Cromartie. And again, another guy, really athletic. The tape at Mississippi State was not that bad, but again, not that great. But a RAS score, relative athletic score, right around 9. A very good athlete, good football player, certainly needs seasoning, certainly needs time, certainly needs development, about 6'3", 301. But this guy could be a player in the NFL. And you do have to keep in mind, Hurst a little bit undersized. Shelby Harris, not really 300 pounds either. Jefferson's not really 300 pounds. But the big man that you brought in, Ika, hasn't gotten anywhere yet. Would it be a great world for Siaki Ika just to take over and just take the team by storm? Yeah. But there's no way the Browns can count on that, and they'd be lapse in their efforts if they did not bring in some competition for Siaki Ika in the 2024 NFL draft. So I gave you a running back, I gave you an offensive tackle, I gave you a defensive tackle for pick 53, pick 85, pick 156, pick 206, pick 243. I am confident the Browns are going to draft a running back, an offensive tackle, and a defensive tackle. So I gave you a name that will fit at each pick the Browns have. Of course, this is going to change because in 3 weeks or even before that, the Browns are either going to add a pick, they're going to trade back, and all of this is going to get blown up because it's just the way it works. Big week here, obviously. If you guys didn't get to the episodes with Jim Coburn, Jim's a fantastic friend. I love the fact he just sits down, puts all these numbers in. But it is great that you can say, hey, Jim, how does this guy compare? Just simple. Jim, how does this linebacker compare to, Ray Lewis? And Jim's got the data. And it's just it's a great resource, and always love my time getting to talk to Jim and comparing guys and where the numbers line up from guys in the past. We're going to continue to pour it out here. There are no off days. It's April. It is draft month. We'll keep pumping out the content. Things are much better here for me at home, so I am free. I am on the grind. I am back where I want to be. My wife is doing great. Went back to work for the first time today, so everybody who's shown their support in that avenue, I appreciate it. The Lloyd family is getting better. It is hopefully getting nicer out the way. Weather's been crazy the last couple of weeks, but we got the NFL draft in less than 3 weeks, and I'm going to cover the living daylights out of it like I always have. I am Jeff Lloyd, the host here at Locked On Browns. I appreciate every single one of you who make Locked On Browns you first listen. The everyday crowd, you're a bunch of filthy animals, but you're my filthy animals. I suggest you join the Filthy Animals by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available. It's always free wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on the LOB. Let's go Browns.